I think it's safe to say that we all have things that we would like to do better, whether it's moving more efficiently, playing more easily. Some of us have ideas about what it is that's getting in the way. Some things are not going as planned. And that might be the first step towards a realization that could change your approach. Let me tell you about some of my challenges. Since I was about 16, I've had issues with both of my arms, which have meant that I've needed to take many breaks from playing guitar for months at a time. I have this thing in a nerve, the ulnar nerve, so these fingers tend to go kind of numb, and I can feel it running through and into my neck. If I was to try to play through it, it would continue to get worse and it would end up hurting. So when I have that sensation, it tells me something's not going as it should, and I need to take a break and rethink things. Another challenge in my life, well, there's all sorts of aspects of it. There's being distractible, like I might decide I need to get a knife. So I walk into the kitchen, put the kettle on to make a cup of tea, go to the fridge so that I can get some milk to put in the tea, look in the fridge for a bit, think, why am I here? And walk off to another room to do something else. I generally find it difficult to start things because of overwhelm. I find it difficult to stick with things because of overwhelm and distractibility. When I was 12 or 13, the school counselor suggested that I might have ADD, and Dad spoke to an expert who suggested that I was just lazy. I want to share a concept with you that I've found very helpful, and I think you will as well. Before I do, if you like the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and share it with your friends if you think there's anything in this that would be helpful for them. So the thing that I wanted to share with you is the concept of, let's call it self-mapping. So it's just like how you might map terrain, we're mapping ourselves. The idea is that a more accurate map is going to lead to a more efficient action. If your idea of how you're put together is inaccurate, your actions are not going to go as well. Your body does its best to do whatever it is you ask of it, even if you're asking for something impossible. So if your idea of how you're put together is inaccurate, it'll try to move based upon that idea. For example, let's do an experiment. Hold your arm up. And we're going to say, point to this spot on your arm. We're going to say, that's where your elbow is. Okay, so I'm going to get you to move with your elbow at that spot. Now, of course, that's not where your elbow is. Your elbow is over here. This is where the joint is. So now move your finger here, point to the spot where your arm's going to bend. Now move from there. Was it the same or different to when you were thinking up here? Let's do it again. So move from this point as if that's where your elbow was. Move from this point. So most people find that they're a bit stiffer when they're thinking of this as being the place where their elbow is. And yeah, if your map is inaccurate, you get tension. If your map is accurate, things just work a bit better. In the Alexander Technique world, this concept is usually talked about as body mapping. Now, it's kind of funny because one of the central principles of the Alexander Technique is that we're whole systems, we're indivisible. Body and mind are inseparable. You can't do something with one without doing it with the other as well. You can't walk across the room without the thought that generates the movement, for example. As a result, I prefer to think of self-mapping. We can map anatomy, how your body works. We can map how your mind works. We can map your emotions. We can map social aspects. Any part of you, we can map it. For example, if we're thinking about emotions, when you're about to do a performance, you feel excitement, or people often call it nervousness. Your adrenaline has kicked in, and it's done that to prepare you for the thing that you're about to do. You're doing something special, something larger than everyday life. So understanding, oh, this energy that's coming in is actually a good thing, means that you can welcome it, and you recognize it as a good thing, and it's going to help you in your performance. A lot of people try to calm themselves down, try to fight against that, which just leads to tension and isn't helpful for performance. So if you welcome that, then that's going to help you with performance. You welcome that energy. Social mapping, we might see that in, for example, you have an idea of what a healthy relationship looks like. You read a book or hear something someone says that leads you to realize that's not a healthy relationship. This is my new idea of what a healthy relationship is. And then that affects your behavior. So if you've had that experience, you've remapped your concept of relationship. If you're doing something and there's some sort of interference, things aren't going as you were expecting, your map of some aspect of that situation could be something to check in on. At the beginning of this video, I was talking about my arms and some challenges I've had there. Now, about a year ago, I was sitting in an Alexander Technique class with Kathy Madden teaching. I found that when I adjusted using the Alexander Technique, how I was sitting, everything was going well. But then I'd find myself a couple of minutes later kind of compressed, kind of hard to breathe. I'm kind of slumped down. So I would use the Alexander Technique to take care of that. Then a couple of minutes later, I'm slumped down again. And I asked her about it. I told her what was going on. And as she observed me, she noticed that every time I exhaled, my arms would go down as expected. As I inhaled, they didn't go all the way back up again. Then I would exhale, and then when I inhaled, they would go up a little bit less again. So it was kind of like a boa constrictor effect. That was certainly very useful information to hear. Do you have any idea what it is about mapping that might be the cause of what was happening with my arms in that situation? It was that even though I taught all sorts of people about where their clavicles are, I touch my clavicles, I know exactly where they are, but it's going to sound weird, I'm going to call them psychic clavicles. I mean, my intuitive idea of where my clavicles are is actually around here. It's much lower down than my actual clavicles are. So, like I was saying before, your body does its best to do what you ask of it, even if what you're asking is impossible. And just by having that a belief, I suppose, an idea that my clavicles were here, my body was doing its best to move as if my clavicles were there. But I'll show you, if I move my clavicles down here psychically, then I don't know if you see that, I can feel there's more pressure on my spine. And you probably notice my shoulders go down. If I move my clavicles up here psychically to where they actually are, then my arms look different, right? They move differently. I'm more comfortable, I can breathe more easily. And so that was a very helpful idea. In relation to the challenges that I was having around distractibility and needing stimulation and these sorts of things. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to my sister, who is a psychotherapist. We were just having a chat, and she said, would you be interested in doing the ADHD screening test? I did the test, and it was just a questionnaire. It's not an actual diagnostic tool. But I scored in the top 99.6th percentile of people in my age group, meaning I scored higher than 99.6 of people in my age group. So yeah, I'm likely to have ADHD. And the benefit to this is that I could get a diagnosis, and even if I don't, I can look at the things that are helpful for people with ADHD. I can have some strategies that might be helpful for me in life. So as I update my map of myself, I can choose more effective actions that cooperate with my design, which lead to more effective outcomes. So to develop your self map, you can learn about anatomy, you can learn about psychology, you can learn about anything relating to yourself. And the key piece of information is to learn it in an embodied way. So learn it so that you're relating each element back to yourself, asking the question, how does this relate to me? If you're learning about where a joint is, for example, say learning about the sternoclavicular joint, the joint between sternum and clavicle, this one here. You might locate it on yourself. You notice the ways that you move your clavicle from that joint. I've got this way as well. You might notice this muscle coming down here, the sternocleidomastoid, which I've found helpful in marking out where my clavicles are, where it is in relation to your sternum, etc. Actually touching your body, feeling where it is with your hand, thinking about where you imagine them to be. Where did you used to imagine them to be, etc. Now, remember that your map is going to be unique to yourself. There are many maps that you're going to share in common with other people, and there are elements as well that are going to be unique to you. So when you look at a textbook, you can say, maybe I'm very close to that picture, or maybe I'm actually quite different. If I was an amputee, obviously I would look different to the picture. If I'd done different activities that lead to bones growing in different ways, that's going to lead to differences. If I have a disease, or if there are so many aspects. Just genetically, we all have different structures. Some people have muscles that other people don't. So develop your own unique map. So in light of the challenges that I've been having, mapping doesn't necessarily solve the whole issue, but it's a really important piece of the puzzle. So it's really worth checking out for yourself. So let's summarize the key points. A more accurate map is likely to result in more efficient action. And secondly, because all organisms exist with variation, your design is going to be slightly different to other people's design. So you want to develop your own unique map. So let me know in the comments an aspect in your life that you suspect mapping might be helpful with. And let me know when you explored your map, what you found. What idea did you update, and how did that affect your life? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you know anyone else who you think might benefit from this information, then please share it with them. Thank you very much. See you in the next one. That's where I look. If you enjoyed the video, please hit love.